Welcome to the One Life Podcast, where we talk about things from One Life Church, but ultimately things we think can relate to you and your one and only life. My name is Sarah Inman. I'm one of your co-hosts of the podcast. I'm joined by Brett Nicholson. It's not like I forgot your name, but I forgot the next word I wanted to say, and so my whole thing just got thrown off there. So
okay.
That just happened.
I think that's the first time it's ever happened, though, I can recall.
We're recording
to the
on a
point where
different
I
day.
thought we were going to just
No, I don't stop.
Start.
Once
you
we
don't
start,
stop,
we go.
We're
Yeah.
in, so that way people know this is unedited. Just
for the most part, it's pretty raw. I don't do a whole lot of tweaks.
That's right. That's true.
We do some voice tweaks, but other than that, we don't cut a whole lot of things out. So
that's right. Even that is going to remain.
It is, yeah.
Right, it's good.
Brett is lead pastor and co-host of the podcast, and we're joined today by Lavarus Giles, and we're going to have some conversation with Lavarus, but always want to start out with Brett just kind of giving us an explanation of kind of what we're doing, why we're doing this, and just kind of the importance behind it.
Yeah, this is a series called Racism, Listening, and Learning, and we decided as a church we were going to encourage everybody. Out of Philippians 1:9, it says, I pray that your love will grow more and more knowledge and depth of insight. And with all of the racial upheaval that's been going on, we wanted to give people an opportunity in a very practical way to do that, just to listen to people of color, their experience. People have experienced racism. And what's really cool about Lavarus is he's also a police officer. That's how we met. We started having police officers come to our campuses in light of the other thing that's gone on in culture, mass shootings, and we were thinking about safety of our congregation, and so we have them at each of our campuses now, and Lavarus happens to be one of those, and we were talking right after everything happened with George Floyd, and he was so open and so approachable about it, and we thought, man, he'd be a perfect guest to have to talk about both those issues, just being a person of color, but also being a police officer, and because of what's going on in Atlanta, that subject is raised to the even higher profile. And so it'll be really neat to hear your perspective, Lavarus. So thank you very much for joining us.
You're
Appreciate
welcome.
it very much. So can you start off by just kind of telling us a little bit about who you are and what life has been like so far? Because you got some pretty cool stuff in there that people need to hear that we might talk about more than we talk about
racism.
Might have
two parts to this. I don't know.
I know we
Might be
may
two
have to do
parts.
that. So, but fire away. Tell them what's relevant.
Well, I'm Lavarus Giles. I'm from Benoit, Mississippi, small town in the Delta, probably about 2,000 people. My graduating class was 17.
17 people.
17.
All right.
I probably was 17.
I didn't want to ask where you fell in the rank, but you offered that.
I probably was
17. Okay.
I probably was the last one walking across. But my graduating class was 17. Didn't have high school sports. I played sports, of course. Right. So we didn't have high school sports up until my senior year. So
the school itself did not have that?
No.
Okay, and then they introduced programs when you were a junior. Okay.
And then we ended up winning state basketball titles my senior year. First time ever playing.
And the first time they had a program?
Yeah.
They won state?
Yeah.
Oh, good grief. Okay, so you might be pretty good at this. Yeah.
And then we went to state in football my senior year, but we didn't win that. Track was pretty good for me, you know. My track, I did 100 and 200. My track time in 100 was a 10.3. My time in the 200 was a 20.4. So, but if I had to do it all over again, I would pick track over football any day.
Really?
Oh, was that right? Okay. Okay.
Because track is more individual now.
Sure, yeah.
You train, you can have a longer career. Football, yeah, it's political.
It's political.
It is.
Oh, no. I'm a big football fan, so don't let me down too much.
And you don't get hit when you're playing track, right?
Yeah, that's right.
That's another thing.
It's people are trying to knock you down.
When you're playing football, most NFL teams or college team, they go for the most NFL teams go for the Alabama kids or the LSU kids, the Auburn kids, Mississippi State. They don't know nothing about the small school kids or Jackson State University. So you got to work 3 times as hard. So when you go into the camp anyway, you have to work harder than the guy that you're better than, that you know you're better than. But they already knew about this guy. And those coaches who coach in NFL coached at the Alabamas and coached at those big colleges. So they already know about these kids. So they don't know about you. You just got to work 3 times as hard. Okay. But as far as track goes, just, you're fast, you're fast. And I was fast, but
right.
I just like the contact in football. So.
Oh, you did like the contact
Oh,
part.
I liked it, but God, sometimes you got to be like, yeah, your body can't take, my body can't take this.
But
Like
as you're kind of going along, you're kind of hinted at something there with the NFL and everything. So you went from your school there in high school, and then pick up your journey there. And how'd that went?
So I went from my high school up until I graduated high school. I signed with Alabama out of high school. So that was back when they had the Mike Shula, the Sparky Woods, and those good guys. So I signed with them out of high school. But in Mississippi, your ACT score and your grades have to balance itself out to go to a 4-year college. Right. So mine wasn't that good because, I was a little class clown, getting in trouble.
Oh, really? Okay. We hadn't heard that part.
Yeah, we're learning more.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. So I had to go to junior college. So I went to Mississippi Delta Community College, and that's in Mississippi.
Right.
So I graduated from there. I went to Jackson State University. I left there early. And I got signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I was there when they had Fred Taylor and David Garrard and those guys.
Right.
Maurice Jones-Drew. So I was there and they released me. So I ended up going to Canada. So while I was in Canada, the Saints called me. So I ended up going to New Orleans with the Saints. And that's when I had Drew Brees and Reggie Bush. Wasn't a good guy though.
Oh, that's a whole other thing we hadn't heard either.
That's right. That will be another episode.
Reggie Bush and Deuce McAllister. And Deuce McAllister, he's from Jackson, Mississippi. So me and him was kind of close. So,
okay.
So I would go home, sometimes I ride home with him. He would ride home with me. And so.
Right.
That's cool.
And then they won the Super Bowl 2010. So.
And you left in 2009, right?
Sure did.
Perfect timing. Well, no one in Indiana cares that they won the Super Bowl in 2010.
Well, they do because they beat the Colts in that Super Bowl.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They don't care in the sense of no one's celebrating that. So
I still remember that onside kick after halftime.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, that was.
They did that.
I don't know. Do Indiana have a football team?
Oh man, low blow.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Man alive, we are going to have to edit some things.
Do they have a football team?
Well, I don't know if they do now or not. Honestly, I can't keep track.
Also, sorry, I think your mic arm's falling. I have some faulty equipment over here today, so I'm really struggling. I've got all kinds of things I'm screwing up here today. So
yeah,
make sure we can hear you.
So I left there and I moved to Evansville, Indiana. I moved here because my ex-wife, her sister, moved here, so she wanted to be closer to her sister. So she moved here, and I wasn't seeing my kids as much, and I got burned out with football,
right?
Because it's pretty tough sport.
Tough sport. Yeah, imagine that. Now you said something before we got started that you get knocked out nearly every day. That's something I didn't know. I know they hit hard.
I was a running back, so every play either you're blocking someone. If one of those big 6'8" off defensive linemen come loose, you got to block them, And then some doing practice, they don't want you to cut block them because they don't want you to hurt someone that they're paying, $20-30 million, So they don't want you to hurt someone. So you got. Right. Sometimes I'd be like, come on, just calm down. Like, can you just calm? There's no need to go this hard. Like there's no need. I'm telling you, there's no need to do this. So either I'm running the ball and getting knocked out, or either a linebacker's blitzing, I got to pick him up, or it's tough.
Well, I did hear a pro football player say one time, somebody asked him the difference between college and pro, and he said, well, college it's like getting hit by a Tonka truck, and pro is like being hit by a Mack truck.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you said knocked out nearly every day, I thought, wow, okay, that because those guys are really, really big.
Yeah, and they're not. They're not just like these are guys with muscles. You're thinking somebody 6'7", 6'8", 330, 40 pounds, but these are men with muscles.
They can run really fast.
They can run real fast, and they will knock you out. Yeah.
So you came to Evansville, and how did you get in to be a police officer?
When I got here at Evansville, I was working at Toyota at first. And so I was sitting there one day, and I'm like, you know what? It'd be really nice to be a police officer, So I put the application in. I thought about it, And I put the application in, my mom and dad like, why do you want to be a police officer? They killing. And it was during the time when everybody was like ambushing the cops and stuff. Like, why do you want to be a police officer? They just killing people. And, you know, you always dealing, because we're dealing with people, like we're not getting a call from people who say, hey, I found $1 million, or hey, here's a brand new car. Hey, we're going to calls where something, you know, pretty much is bad. You know, we respond to bad stuff. So we're not responding to something good.
Yeah, no one calls 911 and says, hey, I just wanted to let you know I have some good news and want the officers to come over.
If they do, then you probably got to watch yourself. You probably set up. So,
yeah, exactly.
And if they do that, that'll be nice, you know?
Yeah. Now, I want us to, we'll come back to the police officer part, but we have been asking each person that's come on to talk about their own personal history growing up and their experience of racism just on a personal level. And do you have a story around that? And you remember that first time that was an issue? You got a lot. Okay.
Because I'm from Mississippi.
Okay.
So
that does put it in context.
Yeah. So the racism, it still goes on right now.
Right.
Well, of course it goes on. So my first time I can think was there's a basketball court behind a church in Mississippi. And there's this big white house across the field. And one night we were all just out there playing basketball in the basketball court. And we didn't know. So we just see this big blaze cross, just like, you know, somebody set fire to this cross. So we just sitting there think it's pretty cool. And then, you know, you see your people out there with the sheets thing. Oh yeah. See the sheets on. So we didn't think nothing about it. We thought it was just somebody just burning something. Yeah.
Oh my.
And my mom, when I was I probably was 8th, 9th grade. My mom, she worked at this private outing club. It's across the levee. So she worked there, but you couldn't eat there. So it was a private outing club, but it was owned by white people. So when we would go pick up my mom from work, we just go down this hill, go around back. She walk out the door. We just leave. But you can't go in there and eat. But you can work as a black. It's like white people can only go in there and eat. But, oh yeah, they still have it. Like you can go in there and work for them. If you're black, you can go in there and work. But if you're white, you can go in there and eat.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. We used to go pick my mom up. It'd be late nights, probably like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. Me and my dad, my brothers and sisters, we'll go across the levee to the outing club, pull it back there. She walks out, get in the car. They didn't treat her bad, but I thought like, you know, why can't we eat in there if you work here?
Yeah.
But you have to be a member. You had to be a member too, you know? So that's how they kind of kept us out of there. You know, kept the black people out of there anyway.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to let you be a member of this outing club because you're black. Like, we're not racist, but you're not coming in here.
We're not racist, but you're not coming
here because you're a different color.
Yeah. So when you're a kid, so you're seeing, how old were you when the KKK thing happened?
I think I probably, let's see, because my grandma, I probably was 13, 14.
But you viewed it as somebody's just burning stuff.
Oh, yeah. We thought somebody was burning.
Did you immediately get coached that wasn't true, or did you figure that out later?
I figured it out later.
Okay.
Like, even in my town now, there's a railroad. If you go to my town is small, so there's a 4-way stop. There's always a 4-way stop, a gas station. That's it. And it's a railroad track that goes straight from my town to the next town. And you have your white peoples they're on the east side of the track, and we're on the west side of the track. No, it's the other way around. We're on the east side, and they're on the west side of the track. And they just separate us like that. It's not like that. If you go over there, you're going to get killed or shot, but that's how they separate us.
Now, is it known that there are KKK members on that other side? I mean, it's just kind of a known thing in the culture. Is that true to this day?
It's known that there are people over there like that, but I got so many. Because another story is me and my ex-wife, we were driving to my mom's house one night, and that's when I was in college. And we were just driving on this back road, and this truck just come up behind us, and they start flicking the light, blowing their horn and stuff, saying, "Get out of town, you N-word, this and that." And I'm like, what we gonna do? She like, just drive. No, she was driving. And I told her, just drive. And the next day, I gotta go buy a gun, probably next week. Because I'm thinking if something happened, like, how can I protect?
Sure, yeah, because you're just sitting there and all you can do is drive.
I didn't have nothing.
Good
I
night.
have no
Okay.
nothing.
Right.
So I ended up going to buy a gun just because of that.
Was that in Louisiana as well?
It was in Mississippi.
Mississippi.
Yeah, I'm living in Mississippi. And it still goes on, but it's like they're like trying to hide it. You know?
Right.
Like
Okay.
they're trying to hide it until they get upset.
Yeah.
And then they make the racial remarks and all that stuff.
Now, how'd you? So you're growing up with this, and you obviously fairly well adjusted though, and you did sports and even went to the NFL. I mean, how did you learn to navigate that? Did you become bitter about it? Did you just kind of ignore it? How'd you process that in your mind?
'Cause me, I'm different. I'm different. Everybody tell you I'm different from everybody. Like I don't
Okay.
like if you don't like someone because if you don't like me because I'm a different color, fine. I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that. You know.
Yeah.
If you don't like me because, you know, for whatever reason, it don't bother me. You can say whatever you want to say. I don't care.
Right.
Even my job. I'm a police officer, of course. Even with my job now, people say they try to say the worst thing or whatever they can to get underneath your skin and make you do stuff that's, you know, that's not professional. You know.
Yeah.
But me, I just laugh and joke right along with them, and they get even madder because you're not. Oh yeah, like people like, man, how did you let him say that to you? You didn't even do it. I'm like, it don't bother me. Like it do not bother me. It's just it's stupid.
Is that just because that's your personality, or was there a time in your life when you kind of decided, okay, I could be really angry about this, or I could take it another way? Do you remember how that went?
No, I mean I think it probably took time. It's just me, my personality.
Okay, because you were a class clown kind of guy. You did say that.
I
Okay.
definitely was.
Okay.
Like, it just took a while. It probably would take a while because back then, I probably would, people say some of the stuff I hear now. And it's not just the white people. Like, the black police officers, we get it worse from the black people than we do from the white side.
Really? Okay.
And yeah, and it's crazy because they think that, oh, you're one of us, so you need to let us get off, or you're one of us, you working for the white man, or you're Uncle Tom, or you're a porch monkey, or you're a coon, or I'm like, you just shot at somebody, you go to jail. Like,
Right.
I mean, I'm in the breaks you want me to give you, and that's why you have like, because we have a lot of, because I worked at the schools and stuff, like AIS school, the bad school, so I knew most of those kids. So I wanted to go to, the inner city to work with those kids, try to talk to them. All those kids that I try to talk to about the gangs, and I'm like, your buddy tried to do this gang life. He just got killed last week. What are you doing? The streets chose me. I'm like, the streets didn't never talk to me before. Like, the streets ain't choose like, hey, you want to join this gang? No, you just need to change, break that cycle. Your buddy died, and I'm telling you, a month or two later, they're dead.
Wow.
They're dead. I'm like, all right. And he tried to talk to another buddy, and they're all kids who grew up together.
Yeah.
They're related probably, and they decide, oh, well, he said something to me. He said something bad to my girl on Facebook. Boom, I'm gonna kill him. Then you kill this guy, you go to jail, and this girl will go find somebody else.
So so you've actually spent active time as a police officer
yeah.
to try to work with
Yeah.
young kids that are, and I'm sure some have heard you
Yeah.
and listened to you. And what's the basic advice besides what you just shared that you typically try to get people to do? Is there do you try to set them on a path of, besides maybe not be a class clown?
I try to, and you know what? And I try to, but at the time, like, if you get those kids, just or just you and that kid one-on-one, me and that kid one-on-one, she can be one-on-one with that kid, he will sit there and he'll listen. He'll be, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, I understand. But if you get him around his buddies and stuff, oh, he like, F you, blah, blah, this,
Right.
F the police.
Yeah.
And then, because they want to get feedback from their,
Sure.
from their little group that they hang
Yeah.
out with.
And in some sense, I know I was that way. I mean, I knew how to be polite to adults and everything else. But my peer group was absolutely the controlling influence in my life in high school, things like that. So we've been saying as we go along this that you have a predominantly white audience right now. That is our church, and that'll be changing. Oh yeah.
I mean, they're not like mean. I mean, they're like they come up and talk. I mean, they're not like.
So, but I mean, just in general, as you're watching kind of the racial upheavals go, what would be your coaching to people who in our audience on how they can handle these kinds of issues? Is there any insight that you could have, how to have these conversations, how to make things better?
I was just asked, because when I was standing out there last Sunday, 3 white ladies come up to me and they say, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" Like,
right.
I'm like, fine, and it's it's uncomfortable. It's a weird topic,
right?
Because I'm a black man talking to, 3 white women about race. So you want to be straight with them, but then you don't want to be too straight to where you're mean and So that's why it's a weird conversation because you want to talk about it because they don't know. But you don't want to, be mean about it. You don't want to make them like, well, he got upset or he said this, so I'm not going to talk to him. I'm not talking to black people no more,
Right.
And black people my wife is white. A lot of black people have white friends. They like white. I like white people. Everybody should. It shouldn't be it's so stupid to me now. It shouldn't be a thing to where I don't like you because you're white or black.
Sure.
It's so you can be sent from heaven. You can be a white person sent from heaven for me and give me everything I ever wanted in life. But I don't want it. I don't want you in my life because you're white.
Right.
And like I said last time, if you turn off these lights in here and there and it's dark, you don't know who you're talking. You don't know no color. You don't see color. It's just black. It's just dark.
Yeah.
That's what everybody should do.
Right. Yeah.
Everybody should do it. Just get in the room, not with a bunch of crazy. Just get in there and just get in there, shut the light off. It's black. You can't see a color.
Yeah.
So you just talk to people and you get to know people, and then I might just fall in love, with you and your conversation. Then the light come on and you're white. I'm like, oh, I hate him now. I don't want nothing to do with him.
Right.
Which is the dumbest. I don't understand. I don't understand. I don't understand it though. I don't understand how you not like someone because they're a different color.
I want to ask too, because we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, and obviously your perspective is yours, and we're not trying to say that you're speaking for every police officer, in the country, but when you saw George Floyd, when you saw that happen. As a police officer, as a black man, what's going through your head? I mean,
well, the George Floyd thing, the cop was wrong. He put his knee on this guy's neck for 8 minutes, and that's why I was saying it's different from all the other protests and all the other officer involved killing and stuff, because usually it's something quick, 1 or 2 seconds and it's over with. But this one here is, like I said, it's different because you sit there and watch this guy kill this guy. So you sitting there watching this police officer put his knee on this guy's neck for 8 minutes. If you watch the video, man, you didn't want to get up. You didn't think maybe he's dying,
Yeah, they didn't cross your mind?
Yeah,
they didn't cross people around you are telling you that.
They didn't cross your mind hey, can you get up off of him? He's dying. It's not right. Just being a person, just being a person, knowing you're killing somebody else.
And you said something interesting to me too. We were talking about that a few weeks ago. That as a police officer, even if you shoot someone, your next response has to be, I got to go to work on first aid. That's part of your training. You're supposed to. You're not shooting them to kill them. You're shooting them to incapacitate them so you can shut down the situation. But even if it is that, he had a responsibility to care for this guy's life.
When you're shooting or you're trying to eliminate, you're trying to take over the situation. You're not shooting really to headshots. Nobody's shooting headshots to kill him. Like, you want to stop the threat. When you see that he's done, you holster your gun or whatever, and you go over there. You become, not a nurse or a doctor, but you try to. After this guy tried to kill you, which is crazy. After this guy's trying to kill you, you shoot him, and he's down on the ground, and you have to go help this guy.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know, like, as police, we're not just police officers. Like, we're like moms, fathers to those kids. We're like, first aid, we have to try to teach those kids stuff. So we're not just locking people up every time we look around. We had to go there and try to talk to them, so you become a mentor. So it's more than just being a police officer and putting handcuffs on somebody and taking them to jail. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't know, like, when you're dealing with people, like you don't notice. Like, I don't know. When I get a call, I just know what they told me, like, hey, such and such is here, get some good notes. Like, you don't know what you're walking into.
Yeah.
Like, you can walk up, and this guy know his house way better than you. He knows the situation way better than you. You walk up, and if he want to kill you, he can kill you right there on the spot. He knows all his blind spots in his house. He knows everything, but you just walking up there, trying to help, he just kill you.
Yeah. And that does kind of get to, I want to dig a little deeper into that. Like, what do you wish people on average knew about being a police officer and the kind of things you deal with? We know what we see on TV, we hear the news, and that's kind of it. But what do you, and that kind of gives some insight to it. I never really thought of that myself. Of when I walk up to this house and I've been called, I truly don't know what's going on. It's an unknown situation. Yeah. But what are other things that you think that people just don't have any clue of what we guys actually deal with?
Well, one thing people should understand is, like, not all cops are bad cops. Just because I put their uniform on, there's no need to hate me. There's no need to dislike me, Right. I'm doing a job. People do it all the time, like, like I say, like, F police this and that. I'm like, you're one of them. I'm like, I am a police officer, but I'm not like one of those. I'm not one of them, Yeah. Like, you hate me because I put this uniform on. If I take this uniform off, can I talk to you then,
Yeah.
Which don't make, I guess, like, when one police officer do something that's bad, it can be in China. It can be way in another, like, we all look bad,
Exactly. Yeah.
It's just a uniform. It's not like me and you are like, buddies. It's just, I'm a cop, you messed up, all of us look bad.
Yeah. Do you think there's things about the job that just can bring out the bad for people? Because that's been the accusation has been, it seems like a culture that it may not be just a few bad apples, but there's a culture there that could be conducive to.
Of course, there's a few bad apples, and you just try to get. Well, it's hard to get people, because when people are mad, they're upset, and like this right now, killing, cops shooting people, and then the media put it out, and boom, everybody hates you and all that. But there are a couple of. What's your question again?
You hear that line, there's a few bad apples.
Yeah.
But do you think there's things inside the culture of police department, or maybe just the situations that they deal with, that make it where maybe I don't know how long you've been a police officer. We didn't say that.
4 years.
4 years. So maybe in 10 years, it might get worse just because of the nature of the job or the nature of the culture or any of that. So it creates more bad apples, I guess. People are wondering about the culture of the police officers. It's going to automatically produce something that's bad in the end.
Well, when you think of police, you got people that we're police officer. They hold us to the highest standard. But we're people just like everybody else. You have people, that go home and people make mistakes. People mess up. People get tired of dealing with the same thing and over again. They can't handle it. So then because nobody never knows. Like, you only see the bad part of everything. Nobody ever know how many times you dealt with this person. Nobody not saying anything that they do is right, but nobody never knows, like, the whole thing,
Yeah.
They never know, like, this guy had been called on 1,000 times, He shot at us several times. So nobody knows the situation. So I'm not speaking for any police officer in particular, but people get upset, you know?
Yeah.
So when you get upset, everybody just don't pray. You know, everybody just don't say, hey, let's go talk about it. They just react, make a mistake, and then it's too late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah.
Even in your experience in Evansville, being a police officer, I don't know, have there been any experiences where, I mean, you've talked about people yelling things. Like, does that happen frequently? Like,
Oh, it happens all the time. It happened last night.
really?
Funny you should mention it. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah.
But then last night it was kind of weird because we had this big fight at the Van Park Apartments, and I show up on the first car there, and it's weird because you got all these black people over here fighting. It was 4 white people like upstairs, 2 white girls and 2 little white kids, and they up there like, oh, F12, we don't. 12 is the police. I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't know how they
didn't
come
know
up with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So when they said F12, y'all scared to get out y'all car. She was like, I don't F with y'all ends. I'm like, I got out. I said, but you don't take your little crazy self in the house. We're not even here for you. Like, we're trying to handle all this over here. And you're like, F this, F that. We don't F with y'all ends. I'm like, you're dumb. You sound dumb. Like that. We're here because people fighting. Somebody had a knife. Somebody had a hammer. And you out there talking about, we're scared to get out of our cars because, you know, we're at this apartment. I'm like, nobody's scared. Like, there's no, y'all done fighting. Everybody's okay. Nobody hurt, bleeding. Y'all don't want to talk to us. So we're just sitting there. And she just goes all off and off. But people yell stuff like that all the time. I don't care. I mean, it's not my first time hearing it. It won't be my last time hearing it.
Right. It's just in a sense, it's just a part of the job. You just and if you do struggle with that, maybe it's not the best job for you to have.
Yeah, exactly.
That's safe to say.
Yeah, it's part of the job. People try to get underneath your skin and make you do stuff that, you know, can get you in trouble, get a lawsuit. But if you're taking any of that stuff personal, you know, it's just a job. If you go in with this job and say, hey, it's a job, you know.
Right.
I'm here to do a job. You mess up, you go to jail. I like talking to people. If I can help somebody instead of taking them to jail, or I can help somebody and they can say, hey, man, thank you, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here just to lock you up because, hey, I just want to lock somebody up.
Right.
Now, does that happen very often?
It does.
You get to talk,
Yeah.
Yeah, so you do get to talk to people and kind of de-escalate some things?
Yeah, I like to talk to people. I like to talk to people. Since I got this job, I met a lot of people, man. That's how I met you all. So
Yeah.
That's true. That's right. You see a little bit of everything. That's one of the things that strikes me is that police officers do see a part of society that the normal average person never sees.
Oh, yeah.
And you see it every day in every shift, pretty much. A little bit of everything has been my observation, and that adds to the challenge of it.
Yeah. We get to see a lot, man. You get to see, you know, dead bodies, people's brains blown out. Sometimes, you know, stuff hit home with you, you know, you get like, dang, like, why? Because you deal with these people over and over and over again, like the domestic violence incidents and stuff, and you try to tell the lady or try to tell the guy, hey, y'all just need to separate, you know. You're scared of him, he's beating you, why don't you leave? Like, we got help for you, right? And you deal with these people, man, over and over and over again, probably 2-3 years. And then you know what? You start to, you know, meet these people, kids, you know, build relationships with them. And then, you know, 3-4 years later, she's dead and he done killed himself and he killed her. And he like, man, I tried to tell her, like, I talk to these people all the time, so.
Do you, as a police officer, because I generally just don't know this, do you get training and like mediation type things? I mean, being able to talk to people, or is that something just personal for you? Like, because I mean, obviously there's services for people, whether they take advantage of them or not. But like, if you're there, I mean, is there any kind of training where you're like, hey, here's how you de-escalate something, or even just kind of talk to someone?
No, I mean, yes and no. Like we have classes where they try to teach you how to, you know, de-escalate stuff. You know, especially when you're dealing with somebody like a mental disability. Even when you're dealing with somebody who's racist, or because we know, like we wouldn't know all that stuff. And they teach you, like, just listen to them, you know? Sit there and listen. Sometimes people just want you to listen to them.
Yeah.
So you just sit there and listen to them, and they're like, oh, man, you know. I had a guy last night. So he hates black people. So we get a call back to his house last night, and, like, they give me a disregard. Like, I just kept going. So I showed up at the house, and all these cars just kept showing up. They're like, man, why is everybody here? You know, like, oh, he hate black people, so we want to see how he's going to talk to you.
People were coming to watch?
Yeah.
Again, people don't understand what police officers encounter, so okay.
We want to see how he going to treat you. I'm like, okay, he can treat me. You can say whatever you want to say. So we had one of our white police officers. He's knocking on the door, like, you know, knocking on the door. He didn't answer. But I want to talk to this guy, right? So I open the screen door. I'm like, boom, 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 beating on this door, and I hear him in the back. He's like, get away from my house, blah, blah, blah. Like, we just want to talk to you. So I go in the house and stuff, and, you know, you see all these tattoos and stuff, or the, you know, the little S thing back, or what they call it, the racist stuff, all that. So I go in there and talk to him, right? And he's like, man, he said, man, I'm glad you came, man. He said, I love black people. he said, I love black people, man. I'm glad you came, man, because he's here. I can't stand these people right here. And I'm like, what's going on, buddy? You know, he get to talking and stuff. And he's like, never mind all my tattoos, man. So, but he tell me, you know, when he was locked up in jail, he had to pick, you know, choose a side, you know. Is he going to go with the white people, or he going to go with the black people? So he went with the white people to protect himself. So he get all these tattoos and stuff, and, you know, make it seem like he's one of the Aryan brothers. And when he get out of jail, he's not part of it. He just had to go in and protect himself.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, man, see you later.
But you're hitting on a point, I think, too, even without saying it, like, that it is really about relationship. Like, being able to talk to someone always makes someone feel like they're valued. I mean, we see that obviously in church. I mean, the idea of someone coming in with any kind of hurt, a lot of times they just need someone to hear them and listen to them and say, hey, I see you, I hear you, and I acknowledge you. And so that's kind of fascinating that I mean, we don't hear a lot of those stories, like, from a police officer's perspective, of being able to just going in to someone who doesn't have a great, in a sense that you think they'll have a great opinion of you, and you just talk to them like, hey, we can actually have a conversation. Yeah. That's important.
And that won't make news.
No,
because it's not going to be a headline because no one died, no one was shot. There's none of that. It was actually a conversation had. We always have to remember that typically what does make news is going to be bad because it's more dramatic, and that's what we are interested in. But then again, these things go on that people just don't see, and we wish, and it probably goes on a whole lot more than we realize too, because you don't want a situation to escalate any more than anybody else does. In your work, you want to go home at the end of a shift.
Nobody want to. When you look at the news, though, it's all bad stuff. They don't want to post the good stuff because this is where we live, and nobody want to watch the good stuff. Yeah. And then even with that, me talking to this guy, and then one of our other police officers, he said, man, because I told him, I was like, well, he had 2 machetes behind his counter. So every time they went to his house, he would go behind his counter. But I didn't know that. So I seen him back there. I'm like, he was drinking his beer and stuff. I'm like, how many more beers you got? You gonna go and finish those? But I was just trying to look and see what all he was doing back there. He had 2 machetes on the bar stool right there. And I told those guys, like, next time y'all go there, you know, he had 2 machetes. And they were like, oh, that's why he run back there every time we try to talk to him.
Oh, wow.
So he would run behind the counter because he had 2 machetes there. So they went back. I think they went back later last night and arrested this guy.
Oh, okay.
So. And
then he was probably looking for you. Hey, where's my friend?
The one he don't like. I don't like y'all black people, but I like you. Yeah, like, hey, I'm black too. So I mean, you know.
Would you say that's your favorite part of being a police officer? Like being able to have conversations with
people?
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I like, and that's what they say, like, man, you like messing with people. I'm like, I just like talking to people. I like, you know, talking to people and good, genuine people. I like to have fun, you know, meet people. Like, there's no need to go through life hating someone because it's stupid. Like, there's no need to go through life hating someone because they're a different color, because they're male or female, because, you know what I mean? Sure. It's the dumbest the dumbest thing ever. Like it's just dumb to me. Like,
Right.
I would not have a good time with you because you're a different race,
Yeah.
or I would not, enjoy you, because you're a different race. My wife is white. I love her to the moon and back, but I ain't gonna break up with her because she's white. I'm not gonna divorce her because she's, because she's white. You know what I mean? Because all this stuff going on, like, yeah, it's my wife. I mean, I'm gonna be with my wife. So
that could be everybody's takeaway. Don't love everybody because to nod is stupid.
It is, because it's stupid.
It really is. In the end, when you
stupid.
really think about it, the whole it's so tragic that it's such a problem, because in the end, when you really take a look at it, it's a stupid thing.
It is stupid,
and we're just being fools. But the Bible says we are. So
and I
it's
don't
not
think
surprising.
you know better than I do. I don't think God made a white person and a black person said, separate me. Like, you just stay in your own lane. You go over here, you go over here. I mean, I don't know, maybe he did to them, but
I think it's just he loves variety. There's more than one kind of tree, more than one kind of animal, there's more than one kind of everything. I think he loves variety and loves the unity of variety. So
it's just it's just I don't understand it.
Yeah. That's right. But you've helped us understand it. So I really
absolutely.
genuinely appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm sitting here thinking I'm just genuinely glad, one, to know you, but also to know that you're part of the people, protecting and serving our community and even our church. I remember we asked you to jump in on a video. No problem. Jumped in. That was super fun, actually, because Jason went and asked you, and I'm like, you went and just asked him? He's like, yeah. He said no problem. Like he was giving Jason that ticket. It was great.
In
the
That's
Centered
right,
Films. Thank you so much for coming on. And I always want to ask towards the end, anything else that we didn't get to or ask, some of the questions that you wanted to highlight, or anything else to share before we kind of wrap up?
Not really. It's my thing. I always tell everybody, just shut the light off, close your eyes and talk to them, so you won't see a color. Everybody, you just see black. If you close your eyes, you see black. And either you like a person because of their great conversation, or you just don't like a person because you just don't like them.
Right.
Not because, it's a black person, or it's a white person. So, no, I don't like you. Again, I think it's the stupidest thing ever. I do, man. I do.
That ought to be the final word on all this. Hey, it's right.
It's just stupid.
We just need that on a plaque somewhere.
So stupid to me.
It truly is. That's good stuff.
Also, Lavarus, I think you need to start a podcast or like a YouTube channel. I think you'd have a lot of fun with this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I ain't got the voice like you.
You got the voice. You got it. But you got the personality. It'd be fun to just kind of see, some stories you share. I think that'd be really cool. Yeah. So we'll have to have you back, maybe. Just do some more sharing. So, well, thank you again for joining us. Thank you for sharing and giving us another perspective. Anything to close with, Brett?
Well, I just want to encourage everybody to keep tracking with these, and Lavarus is a good example. And I know he doesn't speak for everyone, not all police officers, not all people of color, but as we're walking through this in our community, it's important to know that guys like Lavarus are out there, and they are doing things in the community that we don't get to hear about, but they're very important. He's de-escalating things. He's getting to know people. He's encouraging people, and that kind of stuff really does exist in our community, and that gives us all hope. So I think that's a good takeaway. Besides, racism is stupid. That's it. It's the final word on it.
It's the final word. It's
great stuff.
That's it.